Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. What we should understand is when we learn the teachings of the Buddha, we are learning something that is unique. Because unlike other people who acquire knowledge through going through school education, then higher education, then going to universities, or by reading books, by doing research, in this way, by various means, people acquire knowledge. And that knowledge we acquire, we all have studied in our lives. Some subject, some sort of things we all study. But the knowledge we gain through this process of learning, it changes. What we learn today is not the same. Some days, months, even years back, it changes constantly. The things we learn, they change. What is true today is false some other day. What is deemed the correct method now is later on renounced. It is denounced, saying, okay, this is not the way we should do it. This is the proper way, and they come up with a new thing. Likewise, the information, the study, the process, the learning process, the knowledge base is constantly changing, evolving. So it's always, therefore, lacking in something. That is why with regard to even science, when they define science, it is all about trying to get near to the truth, as close as possible. So it is not something they fully achieve at any day, given day. They are always experimenting, theorizing. They can never arrive at a perfect answer. So unlike this knowledge we acquire in our lives, the teachings of the Buddha are unique in the sense Buddha realized all this, his realization of the nature of the world, and all the omniscient, we said Buddha is omniscient, that there was nothing in the world that was concealed to the Buddha. He unraveled everything that has to be revealed in this world. There's nothing hidden to the wisdom of the Buddha. So his knowledge was not acquired as we do by external methods, by studying books or whatever, any other method. He himself, through his own wisdom, realized all that is in this world to be realized. Because this world as a whole, whatever things we experience and associate with, are things that we come into contact through our internal senses. So all that is there to be realized in this world with regard to these senses, with regard to these elements, with regard to all the worlds, all the beings in the world, their life, their existence, their passing away, their rebirth, all this was realized by the Buddha. By his own wisdom, without the guidance of a teacher. And once he attained Buddhahood at the age of 35, his knowledge was complete. There was nothing more for him to acquire by me as knowledge. It was complete, it was fulfilled. And thereafter, everything he taught until his passing away, Parinibbana, for 45 years, he taught what he had fully comprehended. There was no learning process thereafter. So these teachings of the Buddha we learn in that aspect is very unique, that it is complete. It is the wisdom of the Buddha, and it is unrivaled by any other teaching. Because it is There's nothing more to be added to it. And these teachings you don't find anywhere else in the world. Any other religion, any other books you might read. This is the wisdom of a Buddha. So we are very fortunate that we got the opportunity to learn these teachings of the Buddha. So when you consider of all the things that are external that we comes into contact, we get to associate with, we get to hear, listen. That is why the teachings of the Buddha becomes the foremost, the best. Why? Because it is unique. It is something that you do not find in the world. It is something that is comprehended by the Buddhas only. So that is why Buddha said, of all the things that are external that you listen, hear, the teachings of the Buddha is the foremost. So, but for you to make something out of it, benefit from this teachings of the Buddha, it is very important that you have a certain inner quality within yourself. You should possess that quality. What is the inner quality you should possess for you to benefit from the teachings of the Buddha? Wise consideration has to be there, or else you cannot make use of the Dhamma. Because Buddha clearly stated this Dhamma is for the wise, not the unwise. So if you do not have that faculty, that skill, that ability within you, then it's no use. Buddha gave a beautiful simile for this. He said, like, just as a spoon that is in a, say there's a spoon in a delicious curry. Can the spoon taste that? No matter how delicious that curry is, can the spoon taste that curry? Can't. It's the same. Buddha said, no matter how tasty, how nice, how delicious this Dhamma is, the person without wisdom cannot taste the Dhamma, cannot make use of it. He cannot experience it. He cannot realize it. Why? Because he lacks that skill. What skill? Wise consideration. That is something you have to possess within yourself. Then you can make use of the teachings of the Buddha. So today we are learning the sutta that emphasize the need for you to have this wise consideration. And also in this sutta, Buddha talks about three things that defile our life. Three things that bring harm, trouble, and much suffering to our life. That is the taints. Have you heard? Asava, taints. So the sutta's name is today we're learning Sabbāsavasutta, meaning all the taints. The taints in our life. So this in the middle and discourses of the Buddha, Majjhima Nikaya. So in this sutta, Buddha talks about three types of asavas. Kama asava. I mean, kama asava means taints of sensual pleasure. Bhava asava. That is taints of existence or taints of being. English, you don't come across a proper translation that actually gives the meaning correctly for bhava. So that means bhava is arranging of karma to bear fruit. That is the definition of bhava. So in English we say just existence or being. So kama asava, taints of sensual pleasure. Bhava asava, taints of existence, and avijjasava, taints of ignorance. So in this sutta, Buddha talks about how these three asas affect our lives and how to actually eradicate these taints. Okay, so this is how the Buddha begins the sutta. So in this sutta, it is said, on one occasion, the Blessed One was living in Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. That is when the Buddha addressed the bhikkhus and said, Venerable Sir. So when he addressed, they replied. And Buddha said, Bhikkhus, I shall teach you a discourse on the restraint of all the taints. I will tell you how to restrain the taints ourselves. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say. So the monks replied, Yes, Venerable Sir, we will. So then Buddha begins the sutta. Janato ahang bhikkave passato asavanam kayang vadami. Monks, I say of this the destruction of the taints. For one who knows and sees, janato, one who knows, and passato, one who sees. Only for the person who knows and sees that I say of the destruction of the taints. No ajanato, no apassato. Not for the one who does not know or does not see. Only for the one who knows and sees that I tell of the destruction of the taints. Or else you can't understand, you cannot practice if you don't know and see. So then it is then described, Kincha bhikkave janato king passato asavanam kayo hoti. Who knows and sees what? Yonisocha manasikara, ayonisocha manasikara. What should you know and see? Wise consideration and unwise consideration. Wise attention and unwise attention. That means you have to understand what is wise consideration, what is unwise consideration. If you do not understand that, then you cannot practice to destroy the taints. So you should know that how wise consideration benefit you. What are the good results you can achieve through wise consideration, and how unwise consideration can harm your life. That you should understand. So if you do not know the pros and cons of this, the benefits, the advantages, and the disadvantages, then you don't care whether you are practicing wise consideration or unwise consideration. If you know the ups and downs of it, the advantages and disadvantages, how they harm and how can they benefit, how wise consideration benefit you and unwise consideration harms you, then you can practice to destroy the taints. Then Buddha says, when one attains unwisely, if he dwells with unwise consideration, what happens? Unarisen taints arise and arisen taints increase. Unarisen taints means it's like the spirit of our defilements. The mind, it's like the spirit of it. You know, there's greed, anger, and delusion. That the taints are like the spirit of these defilements. So if we consider unwisely, then what happens? Unarisen taints arise. And arisen taints further increases, say the Buddha. But when one attains wisely, what happens? Unarisen taints do not arise. And arisen taints are abandoned. There do not arise new taints. And whatever taints there are, they are also abandoned. When you do what? When you attend wisely. When you consider wisely, that happens. If you were to consider unwisely, then unarisen taints arise, and arisen taints also further develop. So then Buddha teaches us 7 methods by which we can destroy the taints. That means, in other words, purify our mind by eradicating the taints. 7 methods. So normally when people think of practicing the teachings of the Buddha, they all focus on mainly what? Meditation. They think that is the main tool or only tool in some cases to purify your mind. But in this sutta we learn that is only one way of getting rid of the taints. Here Buddha teaches seven methods. You have to focus on all 7 if you are to eradicate all the taints. So first is the Buddha said, Atti bhikkave asava dassana pahatabba. Because there are taints that should be abandoned by seeing. Here seeing doesn't mean sight, seeing through your eyes. Here seeing means seeing through realization. Dassana pahatabba means there are taints that should be abandoned by realization. You have to realize, or else you cannot abandon those taints. Then atyasava samvara pahatabba. There are taints that should be abandoned by restraining. You have to restrain your senses if you are to abandon those taints. Then Buddha says atyasava patisevana pahatabba. There are taints that should be abandoned by using. That means there are taints that should be abandoned by using. Using what? Using while attending wisely. Okay, you should attend to them wisely when you use them. That is how you abandon those taints. Atyasava adivasana pahatabba. There are taints that should be abandoned by enduring. Patiently endure. It is only if you patiently endure that you can abandon those taints. Okay? Atyasava parivajjana pahatabba. There are taints that should be abandoned by avoiding, by non-association. That is how you get rid of those taints. Atyasava vinodana pahatabba. There are taints that should be abandoned by removing, eradicating. Those taints have to be eradicated. That is how you get rid of them. Atyasava bhavana pahatabba. Then there are taints that should be abandoned by developing factors of enlightenment through calm and insight meditation. That is how you abandon those taints. So the taints that you have to be, so for example, the taints that should be abandoned by enduring with patience, can you abandon them with meditation? You can't. So that is why Buddha talks about each specific 7 methods by which you have to eradicate each of the type of taints. Like these 7 types is discussed. So you have to practice always, all methods. So Buddha teaches us that we have to understand they are a danger, they are unbeneficial, that they have to be abandoned. So in the Nibbedika Sutta, Buddha explained characteristic of these asavas. Okay, characteristic of the taints. What are the characteristics? Atti bhikkave asava niregaminiya. There are taints that takes you to hell. Atti bhikkave asava tiracchānayona gaminiya. There are taints that take you to the animal world. Atti bhikkave asava pettivise gaminiya. There are taints that take you to the ghost realm. Atti bhikkave asava manussa loka gaminiya. There are taints that take you to the human world. So that is why you were born here. It is the taints that brought you here. Taints that bring you into the human world. And there are other taints within you as well. Taints that take you to the hell world is still there. Taints that takes you to the ghost world is still there. Taints that take you to the animal world is still there. That is the danger of this life. The taints are still there. So that is why we are always, there is the inclination, the tendency to be born in the bad destination, the planes of misery. So then Atti bhikkave asava deva loka gaminiya, taints that take you to the heavenly worlds are also there. So as long as these taints are there, then we see the wandering in samsara is there. Why this birth? The taints take you to each of the birth in accordance with your karma. In accordance with your karma, the taints drag you to each birth. Okay? If you do not have, what happens? Asavakkaya. When you get that, it's a knowledge, no? Knowledge of the destruction of the taints. Then you are an arahant. That is why the arahants are not reborn.